Always important.
Sorry, nobody could hear us.
That's the second time.
Flooding has been an issue for us.
Yes.
That's
had
very
a
real.
weather storms in the beginning of the summer that washed out Richmond's Road for sure. And in surrounding communities.
And would that include, the state usually on an annual basis does an assessment of our bridges, and last I knew some of our bridges that are town. Are in like poor condition. So when you say roads and culverts, would it include bridge work?
Any critical infrastructure.
Okay,
So I would include bridges, definitely critical infrastructure. I also include dams in that. Dams is a hot topic right now. I know, North Pond Dam for you guys, et cetera. So, yeah, any critical infrastructure, wastewater facilities, things like that. The reason I mentioned culverts too is because again, I'm always trying to connect different funding sources. So DOT now has the culvert replacement program. Yes, I believe it used to be with DEP and moving into DOT. But once the information on that gets released, I'll move that to you guys. So you can, if you need help applying for it, let me know. Because that's all, again, I kind of wear two hats, but at the same time, if I'm working with a town who's helping enroll, gonna think ahead and be like, here's this opportunity, do you want, what I mean, help with that. So there's funding for culvert programs eventually. I know FEMA's has a big impact right now. They're going through, I want to say they're gonna be doing a feasibility study over the county, something along those lines.
Yeah.
So all that stuff.
The culvert project, that you said it was with the DEP, that's probably the same one we used for True Growth. We just replaced that one.
Yeah.
Because that started out with 2 culverts and it's now a bridge, but yeah, it's a box culvert. And I think we did the same thing down on Shed Hollow too.
Yeah, FEMA came in for that one.
Oh, that was FEMA, that's right.
I think even in the long term, you could even say critical infrastructure.
yeah.
Yes.
You know what I mean? There's probably something considered. How about
Grant writing.
with assistance?
Yes.
So that grant writing, yes.
Well, grants are tricky business. Somebody like yourself that knows, the ins and outs of it. You miss out on a lot.
Yeah, and that's the same thing for us. It's, I'd have to. Hard for us to go. It's like we have to go apply for the state funding in order to help our town. Yeah, much easier just, here's the money, go help your town. Yeah, you know what I mean? So by having to apply for state funds, it makes you familiar with doing it for others. So yeah, it's definitely looking at other potential grants. There's so many national programs out there too. I know they're harder to navigate, but this money can be used for federal match, as I mentioned. So if there was a larger project you wanted to look at, we could certainly do that. Anything else to address in the long?
Energy efficiency.
What?
Energy.
Well, energy, yeah.
And I don't know how it would tie into. Having these ceilings are beautiful. But not the most energy efficient.
Right. Which
Same thing with the windows and the.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, long term, I don't know the right word because I'm computer illiterate, but I know that this town in the last 5 years has spent quite a bit of money on computers and computer upgrades, and programs and maintenance, and I'm kind of like in my head go through the budget. But in terms of energy efficiency, marrying all of that capacity for computers and internets, things like that. Is that, I don't know if that's what
in
works.
terms of like digital equity, or like,
Well,
are you more or less? Yeah,
I mean, I live on, so you,
right.
but also the energy efficiency part
Of new
of
electronics.
new, yeah, trying to develop some kind of a 5, a 7, a 10-year plan for this town, because we're putting houses, probably if you added it up, close to $100,000 in IT stuff. Between all the departments, this office and every, the whole picture, which is a lot.
Mhm.
And it's a lot of energy. So whether that, I don't know how that works.
Yeah, definitely. There's some, like. Solar panels, clean electricity will help offset that.
Something,
Yeah. Even energy efficiency appliances, things like that. I mean, they make them now, they're Energy Star rated. Help the food pantry cartridge, but they upgraded all their appliances. They were 30-year-old refrigerators. Made a big difference, you know what I mean? It may not seem like a big difference, but over time. it adds up.
easier, it's 30 or something, same
Yeah.
thing.
Yes, Judy?
Speaking of energy efficiency, this building uses, I don't know how much in heat and electricity, but I think that's a pretty big part, isn't it, Ken?
Well, heat, I know what we used last year. Now that we've switched everything over to propane, I don't know
Yeah,
how that correlates, but. I know propane's more efficient than oil, so I'm hoping we'll see some savings there.
well,
But as far as electricity, I mean, we average probably $400 a month during the summer.
I was hoping that maybe this town could be very progressive and look into geothermal, and I just found out tonight that Sandra has geothermal at her home. I mean, I don't know if it matters that we're sitting on a vast amount of water. This part of the town was a swamp when people first came, and they drained it into the river. And basically built the river up. And I just wonder if it wouldn't be a good project.
It could be, absolutely. That falls under the whole, the energy efficiency, I believe. Efficiency Main is even giving rebates now for geothermal. I think it would definitely be, I know it's a lot more work. I don't know how much efficiency you gain from it versus electrification, but I do know a lot of people are doing it. Requires a little bit more work with well digging and things like that. Definitely worth, I would say, looking into in the long run, because it may be more efficient than, a heat pump or something along those lines. But they use geothermal for, they have geothermal heat pumps, hot water heaters, all this stuff. So I think it could definitely be worth looking into. I would say any energy efficiency stuff. I know the Efficiency Main stuff, it's scary because they want you to do full retrofits. But even without Efficiency Main, there's so many different things you can utilize to increase efficiency. LED lighting, again, yeah, Efficiency Main has programs, even if it's $1,700, coming in on the $30,000 project, it's still savings. But in the long run, looking at that stuff, even CMP does LED streetlight agreements. I don't know if you guys have done that.
Yeah, recently did, yeah.
So I think that's another way that'll go down on the checklist, you know what I mean? So I think any type of step you can make towards being more energy efficient is always a good start. In terms of, I think you wanted an idea, I think a energy audit is a great place to start. This building specifically would be really interesting to see, so old. But again, keeping, like we mentioned earlier, keeping the historical integrity is important for the town. So trying to find a way to balance energy efficiency while maintaining that historical value is kind of going to be the balance point, but it's been done. You know what I mean? It's insulation, just got to be really careful on deconstruction, you know what I mean? Things like that. So they make energy efficient windows now. I'm sure they make them look like that. You know what I mean? Who knows now? So they make everything. So just looking at that and balancing that with your value.
I also know that the Center for Ecology-Based Economy out of Norway, they have a window dressers program where you can submit the dimensions of your windows and they'll build you like insulators you can pop in seasonally to keep the cold air out. But for an energy audit, is there like a program or a business you recommend we go through for that, or?
That's the interesting part, is they're definitely hard to get a hold of.
Uh-huh.
I know the GoPIF office that distributes this program is looking for someone to kind of contract with. So if someone is looking for an energy audit, you're like, oh, working in the CRP, they'll send that kind of person. I don't know how much it's going to be or whatnot, but that's something they're looking at. But there is plenty of companies. I use the Efficiency Main has a contractor list that you can search by, energy audits, heat pumps, et cetera. So what I can do is I usually just put in the zip code and I can send you guys a list of, those energy auditors within 100 miles. Because there's definitely probably not, I think the closest one I saw. So that's even remotely close, and then it's Portland, so it's like,
Mhm.
they're firms usually, unless it's like a smaller company. Western Maine Community Actions. It's out of Franklin, they serve Franklin County, but they do like free energy audits for residential. Carthage was low income, so they were able to give one to Carthage for free. It's kind of one of their things that they do. So maybe finding a company like that may be interested in doing it or looking elsewhere, but that can all be funded under the grant as well. And I did want to note, she brought up the window inserts for Carthage. Again, we applied for a pot of money to actually roll out a town-based or municipal-based window insert program. It's a little bit of legwork getting volunteers, but we were able to connect with United Way, who gave us kind of like a breakdown of their program. We were able to restructure that to fit the town's needs. So that's always a possibility too. If it was, there's enough interest, I should say. But I think it wasn't too expensive. I think it was about $5,000 to do 30 homes, give or take, with the volunteer time and all that stuff. So, yeah, that's great. So the one thing I will say is the last question there, the 3 to 5 specific actions. I think we just talked about, 15 of them. This section's more or less for the public feedback. So, when we hold that meeting on the 16th, I think it is, that'll be whatever comes out of that will kind of fill in that last space. And then in turn, that's what you will put into your resolution, those 3 to 5 actions that came from that meeting. So we can discuss them now if you want, but I think, we covered probably 15 different ones. Okay. So this is really the nitty gritty stuff. So best way to explain this. So they break this down into 3 different target areas: minimizing risk and exposure to hazards, understanding sensitivity and building resilience, improving long-term best. So the last part is definitely more you guys focused. There's a lot of, kind of unrelated questions in there. We'll circle to, but this first part is really, it comes down to, your preparedness, the mitigation actions that are being taken. So what I did was I went in and kind of dug through the Oxford hazard mitigation. There's definitely some good stuff in there. For that first question, really comes down to, has your community assessed the likelihoods of various types of hazards and disruptive events? Flooding, we talked about that. Intense winter storms, increased fire risk, wildfires, I believe you guys are listed as a moderate risk, but also that you have some preparedness in place, have the resources to help fight. That's the case. So that's the type of stuff that but anything, so really, I need for these next few questions here, anything really specific related to the town, because increased flooding, pretty simple stuff like that, but really, so like the North Pond Dam is at high sensitivity, like that would be something specific to the town that they would want to see.
I think that's the second time it came up, the North Pond Dam. I believe is under the authority of the Buckfield Village Corp and not the town of Buckfield.
Gotcha.
So we wouldn't, I don't believe have anything to do with it. I don't know. I don't
Yeah, I'm
know.
not sure myself.
I was just.
Just guess.
No, yeah. Well, even in that case, I will say, so like the Lisbon Water District is its own separate entity, but still consults with the town. So if it was one of those things where, the dam really, it could affect the entire town, right?
Yeah.
So if that's one of those things that was a target area, you could talk to them and be like, here's some grant funding. Can we do something, you know what I mean, along those lines? There can be partners within the project.
Which is even though, like, when you say the town would definitely, I think, be affected. There's more people in town that are not on BBC water than there are people who are on PVC. The dams on, I don't know.
So. Any other specific hazards? I mean, that question's pretty. Straightforward.
Yeah,
Road washouts,
yeah, floods and winter. Winter storms are certainly high on the list. Flooding, we've had. What is it, like at least 3 of the last 5 years, right? Events and
That, and the town has, there's a lot of old trees that are,
I was just like,
they're, they're diseased, and every time we get one of these windstorms. We get damage from them. I know some of it falls in the purview of CMP, but a lot of these trees are in our right of way.
Yep.
And we try to maintain them as best we can, but I mean, take a ride up High Street in Buckfield and you'll see about 10 that really should be removed. A lot of it comes down to a budget thing, but. I mean, trees are a big thing with the storms that we're getting lately, especially in the last 2 years.
Yep. Yes, Ben?
He touched on it too, but I didn't see ice storms here, but. I think with the temperatures rising and staying warmer, there's high possibility that we're gonna get more ice storms. Maybe there'll be deep snowstorms, but I think there should be preparation for both because the ice damages the trees more than sometimes the snow. But I didn't see it on here.
Right, having someplace for people to go.
any kind of big storm. Can be a disruptive event.
Yeah.
No matter what time of year, the water.
Yeah.
That can cause lengthy power outages as well as in the winter.
In the past too, we opened up a fire station. As a warming center, Twabble test is pretty warm in there.
Yeah.
And the school is used too, it's warming, it's been used during the ice storm.
But I think in the heat, in the high heat, it could also be a cooling center.
Yeah,
And then going back to what you said earlier, Sandra, that little conversation there, I thought that that there was a list, I could be completely wrong, things have changed so much. At rescue, there's like a call list if there's a bad storm. There's a call list that they'll call and check in with you. I don't know if that's still going on, maybe.
And I believe it is, but we don't have a community-wide tree, but
Right,
yes, there are people who have arranged with rescue, just as there are people who have arranged with you, people who have arranged with me to make sure they're okay during a disruptive event.
that's it for that question, so yes. But
Yes.
community is definitely assessed, okay. 2. I think this be cut back on measurable data that we were talking about. Has your community assessed how the likelihood of each hazard has changed over time and may change in the future?
we were just talking about that. Yeah.
Right, I think
Yeah.
people could give you anecdotal information about that as far as recorded data. Right,
And I think that's what I put in here. Yeah, town of Maine, very specific. That's just what I put.
didn't somebody mention that there's new floodplain maps coming, or new maps coming from map, at some point, somebody mentioned that.
I had mentioned
Like
that,
the updated maps.
that was shoreline zoning, and that was started by Jill, and I have been in communication with Emily. Is that her name?
Erica.
Erica, I was picking the E right.
So that's at English,
Yeah, yeah,
because
it has to be voted on at town meeting, but there's, a lot of the work was done when Joe was here, it just kind of felt.
you're talking shoreline, we're talking flood,
That's a FEMA thing.
right, but the maps haven't been updated. It's
Not recently, not since I've been here.
not. It's been years.
About 9, I think.
I just put it out there.
Yeah,
But I mean,
yeah, I don't recall us looking at those recently, no.
Just had them up. And did it.
it's okay, Ian.
No, I'm just curious.
Yep.
Pretty sure. I think. Question 3. Again, it's not historically tracked, but I think that you guys have a pretty good grip on if an event happens, what are the repercussions of that, right? That's kind of what question 3 is asked, right? So flooding on Main Street impedes emergency services or affects local businesses. Andrew said trees. I think that's a great example to kind of include in there. Your typical snow on the roads,
Bridges going out.
right? All that stuff, impeding emergency response time.
There you go.
I had all that stuff in there. And the flooding again, this was. I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right. Fonts Road?
Yeah.
So I'm telling you.
Sandra, do something about
At the end of that.
Well, it says occasionally during a quick spring thaw, when there are several days of heavy rain, flood. So perfect thing to include in there. And then I just threw in there that you guys are moderate risk. There any else, anything specific, again, anything specific besides those 2 that I mentioned that we would want to include, anything.
Flooding and what's the other one?
I had that Fonts Road example, and then that there's a moderate risk of wildfires, which is actually higher than other communities in Oxford, which I was shocked at, but guess I shouldn't be too sure.
An example of something the town has done, though, is that after the first big washout. They came in and repaired the road more substantially than it had happened in over 22 years. And since then, we have not had the washout problems that we had in the past. So the town addressed the fact that that road just disappears every time there's big.
Riprap doesn't wash away like sand.
Um,
No, that's awesome.
So-
So I'm not just.
yeah, they did a fantastic job. So they looked at this issue and said, how can we mitigate this in the future? And
Sweet. Let's say yes on that question as well. This is another one. I got this information from the Oxford County plan, but is your community taking steps to reduce exposure to multiple risk types? Couple things I found, I don't know how accurate this is. I saw that the Oxford County has a prepares app that sends alerts out to the residents if they have it. So I think that was a great thing on a county level. They plan on doing dam assessments and training. That was in the county plan. That's all relevant stuff. Public education on mitigation. And then I did include, I really like this point that you guys have the capacity to assist the first responders to combat brush/wildfires. So I thought that was a really important thing to include in there. But anything else I'm gonna say, you can think of directly. So steps, but that I think actually I'll throw that. The roads thing that you said, I think that could be included. So the increasing the, I don't even know how to word that. I'm gonna have to figure that out. But basically planning ahead.
Roads and bridges.
So this one, again, this is kind of subjective, but your community preparing for low probability but a high consequence event. Example was 1 in 100-year flood. I think I found this. Here's one. Scott? What's that? This is Insket?
Yeah.
They mentioned something about that being in the 100-year.
Yeah.
Flood.
Yep.
Yes, this downtown area.
Okay, that makes sense now.
Actually, that storm that washed out Fonts Road was what, a foot from the base
It
of
was-
that bridge. I mean, it was almost.
Okay, so those were connected. Sweet. Okay, so then I'm not crazy.
So hopefully that's 100 year and we don't have to deal with it for another 100.
Right. Right.
It happened though after 5 years and then not for 200 years. That's all it is.
It's all about it.
Well, that's what FEMA told us.
Yeah, I honestly, I didn't see much more, but if there is other things that you would like to include in this question.
I mean, the prolonged electricity outage, I go back to the trees. Because I mean, we've had probably 3 or 4 storms in the last couple of years that took out a lot. A lot of our power lines in it. I mean, CMP was good about it, but the more trees that aren't quite in their right away or in their purview that we can take care of in advance, we'll delay that. Cause I mean, we do have a lot of elderly people in town. Some that are on oxygen, you know, it's,
Well, in a bad storm, like last winter, my place was without power for 4 or 5 days. So, I mean, beyond that,
you couldn't even get out on one side of your road.
correct. Yeah. So somebody came along with a chainsaw.
I thought the town used to be on a 3-year tree trimming cycle with Reed Tree Company for years. One section, the next year they do the next section, the next year they do the next, and they were just on that 3-year revolving tree trimming thing with the tree company.
Was that,
In our previous budgets.
was, oh, we paid for it? Wasn't through CMP?
No, it's the town.
Used to be.
Put that in the budget, people hang me.
Well, yeah, like, I mean, I remember CMP used to go and trim trees.
They still do, I should do some, but they only take whatever's like,
Yeah,
if it looks okay, they'll be like, yeah, we'll get that in the next 3 years. I just know it's one of the ongoing issues in town.
yeah. Yeah, that last heavy storm last year, we lost a lot of trees. I mean, yeah.
It was bad.
Mhm.
And does the grant cover generators or portable generators? or-
Anything powered by fossil fuels it won't cover.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah, I made that argument with the with an emergency shelter, right? I made,
Yeah.
that was one of that, I think like 3 or 4 communities right off the bat asked me about that. And try, but nothing fossil fuel power.
There's other grant
Yeah,
opportunities for
like the
that.
brick grant, I think
Yeah.
there's one, through USDA.
USDA,
Yeah.
they frequently do it.
Yeah, so there's a couple different grant programs, this was a generator. Yeah, here. Let's see, it's just constantly this kind of recurring, number 6 is kind of the same question. Just worded differently, again, flooding. And the big trend. And it says geographic or opportunities, I just kind of noted that it's cost millions of dollars in this region in the past year to replace and fix these roads.
Mhm.
And I think that's kind of the common trend to most of the stuff we talk. I'm not, yeah, so that one's kind of, you know, this.
We have had droughts in the past on number 7.
Mhm.
Nice. Take some mosquitoes.
Yeah, that's what I put that in there because I figured that would help.
I'll say,
Mosquito and tick-borne illness. I think that would be definitely something that would affect this area heavily.
We should come off a soccer game and see how that's there.
But are there any, I mean, other than, you know, we talked about, again, access to the elderly populations and that, but are there anything else specific? Like public health threats that you think could be worse by climate change? So ticks and mosquitoes obviously are increasing. But is there anything else, you know?
Anything that impedes travel, you
yeah,
know, is certainly bad for anyone, including emergency services.
Buckfield has a lot of rural roads that just dead end. You can't access.
Yeah,
And
or
if
they,
it's cut off, it's.
just them trying to get the doctor's appointments.
No, a lot of
Yeah.
commuters
Yeah,
get to work.
Yeah, I definitely worry about like trees coming down or floods happening that prevent, maybe elderly populations from being able to leave their house and find somewhere warm or safe.
There's not many local resources, either like doctor's offices or the
No,
hospital, so those types of things.
So you think about the community relies heavily on local EMS. And if they can't get to the station because they're cut off. That's our,
yeah, because we're right in the middle, right? I mean, really, it's just like. You either go over the mountain, which can be treacherous in the storm, or Fort Lewiston.
Right, and Route 4 is some.
It's tough, yeah.
yeah, either way, it's an 18, 20 mile run just to get gas right now, because there's no gas. Now.
Let's try to get through this. I want to put any. But these, again, these are more simple to answer kind of things. Most of this is going to be directly correlated to how you guys interpret it. But there is a couple different things. So understanding sensitivity, question 8. Is your community tracking underlie on societal characteristic and trends and increased vulnerability? So there is a database online that kind of has all this information. So here, I ran some quick data, Excel, because that's my best friend. From the 2020 census, at least from what it said, is Buckfield has definitely an older population. 26% of that being over the age of 60 and 41% being over the age of 50. So I'd say that's a pretty high
Yeah.
percentage of elderly people.
What percentage did you say over 50?
Over 41.
So combined, over half of our population is over 50.
Yeah.
So, that's definitely a characteristic. They have housing trends. So again, this is all based off 2020 census, but you're at 89% capacity for housing, which is one of the highest in the region. You know what I mean? So that could affect, say, new people trying to come and live here, affordable housing kind of breaks down into that. So that was just some numbers that I had. And then additionally, it's funny we mentioned that. Majority of the residents drive 30 or more minutes to work, right? So that's another issue. That's all this information I'm getting is either on the county EMA plan or what's this place called? The comprehensive index in Maine. They have a basically comprehensive plan database, so it gives you all your numbers and stuff like that. But what was the average drive times? Yeah, high. 228 people over 30 years. But anyways, all right, moving on. So that was just some data. Going through the comprehensive numbers, and I threw some data in there. Again, if there's anything else you guys want to add, definitely do it. But the older populations, low housing availability. Is there really a single economic driver in town? In terms of like a big company, industry. Right.
Level number.
Okay, I was gonna say, we got Tilton's Little Lumber Wells. We lost a bunch of them all. There's not,
Town government,
the what?
the overall town government is a pretty large employer in Buckfield. Between the town administrative staff and then each individual department. I wouldn't be surprised. And the town of Buckfield, the largest employer involved.
We've got a good about 40 employees, but of those 40, 30 something are per diem. So, or part-time. Construction.
But yes, so I think the town of Buckfield is its largest.
Yeah.
So again, it's another. And then the rest of these, I would say. Would be something that you guys could answer directly. I couldn't find much information on it, but addressing vulnerabilities, financial resources to reserve and cope or absorb shock, and
That's yes.
building flexible human capacity that can be drawn on emergencies. I really didn't see any. Do you have any mutual agreements with any of the towns or counties?
Turner, right?
Yeah, a lot of our mutual agreements, like you're talking
Like
like,
mutual aid, so like,
a lot of our mutual aid agreements are more about. They're not necessarily formal,
right, gotcha. So really just the county, if you would.
right, whatever county has for, I mean. Turner's is that's verbal,
Yeah,
I mean,
there's no MOUs or anything like that. It's just,
you help us, we help you.
yep.
So what I'll do is I'll kind of just start the questions that I need, just on specific answers from you guys. That we didn't get to, there's just a couple more things that that I found that I wanted to input on. Question 12, improving long-term adaptive capacity. Again, this just comes down to the projects. I kind of listed some of the projects you named in the EMA plan, roads, culverts, things like that. And the planning that we talked about with the increased precautions taken for the roads, great stuff. That's actually all the information I needed.
Yeah, we're working on a updated comprehensive plan. And also our capital.
Gotcha. Again, 13 is another revenue question. 14 are policies, right? Again, I didn't see any policies that directly correlated. But what I'll do is I'll kind of star the questions you couldn't get to here, and I'll send them to you, and we can.
Yeah, just the right to grow, probably the.
Right. And then 15, this was one that I kind of found, this was interesting, and it could be directly related, is that you guys are a heart safe community,
Yes,
which I think can directly correlate with higher temperatures in the summer, right? So being a heart safe community is good for the community because with the increased temperatures, things like that. So I noted that. Any other types of stress tests?
the fire rescue drills regularly with the county. EMA, and there hasn't been many lately because, but I'm sure that'll start back up. Usually there's at least one drill a year.
And then that last question again, just another policy question. Yeah. Anything else you wanted to add or questions on?
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. So what I'll do is I can reach out to Cam to kind of get everyone's answers. I'll have him scan with me or however he wants to do it.
We can do that.
Yeah. So I'll get that from him. Everything. And then I'll have to look the questions that we didn't get to. And then I'll compile all that and have it ready to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But it's geothermal interesting, so, but no other communities that are doing it?
I do, and I can actually, before I leave, can't remember which one, but I have a so all the projects funded
Oh, okay.
previously, so you can go through those. But yeah. All right.
Great.
I'll let you guys get to your regular.
Yeah. It's 2 minutes before you go.
Yes, we're gonna take a quick break before the meeting, just so you can then get going.
Okay.
Thank you, Zach.
Thank you, Beth.
See you in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I wanted to restroom too, but someone's in there. I'm out.
Let the sign on the stop.
Thanks very much.
Kind of a baseline packet that I gave out last time, in the back it has.
I did see them, but it didn't really do a thrill here. Is there? Okay.
I wanna say yes, but it's this. Took my time to jump the last.
Okay, if I can provide it. Okay, fair enough. Thanks. Thank you. Think it's very.
No, it is interesting process, but it's just a lot of work that goes with it.
Right.
Just making sure, fits the area.
Yeah, okay, well, thank you.
Yeah, no worries. See you in a couple of weeks.
Thanks, Zach. Everyone safe. I know, the new Edward Little School was a big. I
Oh,
think,
yeah.
Geothermal
Oh,
project.
okay.
So good.
Yeah.
It looks incredible. As well as,
Doctor has it here, and I talked to, Lee Dassler, who's head of
Yeah.
Western Maine Foothills.
Yep.
She has it,
well,
and it is expensive to put in, but both of those say the energy savings is
Right.
phenomenal.
But yeah, there's
And,
hardly,
if
there's,
we're going to do it, we should.
yeah, right. It's free.
Yeah.
From the earth.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, you can afford to install it.
for sure.
And this building does serve many purposes, so
Mhm.
do want to keep it.
Yeah,
The reason we did not apply for, historical preservation about 20 years, was we were afraid that to do only certain things. But that turns out not necessarily the case, because on the church, we've done things that were not very old and stuff.
right, right, because unless it's like receiving federal funds, it doesn't have to. Be
Yeah.
kept the same.
Yeah, I was worried about the answer to that. That's why I asked. It's
Right,
good or
right.
bad.
Good try.
But I had a feeling it was better if it was just a public building.
Mhm.
So once you hit the national registry there, it's,
There's restrictions.
Yeah, oh
rules,
boy.
Yeah,
oh boy.
have to be careful.
What you waving at? Oh,
Kids. The kids are in the street.
Good night.
Good night, I love you.
Some. Gosh, you never know this for the geothermal. I saw that, it was not like it.
give you one.
Yeah, yep,
Did you get a copy?
Oh.
I did, yeah.
Oh.
Just wanna make sure. Yeah.
He rolled over.
Oh, no.
I was sorry you're getting stressed. Actually, it's possible. I'll get a free minute. We can't.
Bring everybody else off. And then they still want
Like the fest I also saw, the one in Alamo. They float, yeah, they had a certain part of the on to it. What's that? There's so much else they did early. We went with, Irish community times, just in our ways that much. We were looking for, friends with them, or we could learn things, We were one of the early towns.
I did not.
People don't realize that. Well, we're taking one, they can see this. So. No. Yeah. I think it's started. First and line. Whenever you're ready.
Oh, sorry,
No, that's okay.
studying.
We're gonna find it.
We're all set. All right, thank you. Gonna call this meeting to order of the Buckfield Select Board for October 3rd, 2023. At 6:33 PM. And we do have a quorum, a couple folks on Zoom. Old business, the swap shop.
So I know you wanted me to edit after the 10th, but I just wanted to let everybody know, I did get a list of volunteers for the swap shop from Dwayne. And at the same time, he also wrote a letter of resignation for personal reasons, and he made a recommendation for Wilda Dunham to take over his position. So once I can lock down a date with Sumner for the solid waste meeting, I'll have that for you, but I just wanted to let you know that that took place. But I do have contact with them.
Okay.
Well,
Great. What else with that? All right.
Well,
The new business consent agenda, town manager's report. I know you gave us a report, yeah. Oh, you got,
I'll make a motion that we accept the consent agenda.
I'll second that motion.
thank you. Any discussion?
the coverage.
Yes.
So, town manager's report was pretty brief, but I basically gave a recap of the basement project or the demo of the basement, which was contaminated from the first pipe on Memorial Day. Everything's been removed, the contents as well as the walls, so it's a lot different down there. If you haven't seen it in a while, just check it out. The boilers are both in place and they work. And so that's all taken care of. The tax collectors completed lien work for 22-23. The 30-day notices were sent out in late August, and the lien certificates were signed and notarized on September 29th and delivered to the registry of deeds today. Tomorrow would have been the statutory 10-day requirement, so she met the requirement. The assessing office continued to clear backlogged information and processing sales and trio. Property taxes for 23-24 will be committed in October with the first payment due November 15th. Those with taxes and escrow should know that mortgage companies are already in contact with us and they know what our time frame is. So we should be confident that they'll have the information when they need it. We're actively checking and triple checking accounts to ensure when we commit, there won't be any issues like we experienced last year with tree growth. Town office continues to receive lots of calls concerning the data collectors that are working on the townwide revaluation. The data collectors are working hard to get through this massive project. If you work from home or too busy to answer any questions they may have and they not, please just politely let them know that you don't have time and they'll move along. They'll take their pictures and measurements and they're very understanding. And then I did add a sentence in here because I've already been asked twice. There's concerns about the railroad bed. We were approached by numerous residents in the ATV club about possibly cutting back trees that are overgrowing. Walden and I were doing our due diligence in researching our options, and apparently by doing that research, I've heard everything from we're cutting 60 feet on each side to cutting 31 feet on each side, and there's nothing planned. As I haven't presented anything to the board because I was still working on research when I was receiving calls at the town office. So I just want everybody to know that Public Works crew is not staffed enough to do these projects, nor do we have a budget to perform this work at this time. So what everyone has heard is primarily rumors. It was us trying to determine what can we do. With that said, I've traced the deeds back to 1894, and there's still more work that I need to do. I sent emails off to MMA Legal. When the town of Buckfield purchased that property, it's two parcels, the one headed up South Bond to the Hebron line and the one that goes to the Sumner line. It's not like a typical road. We actually purchased the parcels, and the tax maps reflect. If you look on the south side or the South Pond side, it's 66 feet wide, which is 4 rods. So if the town were going to do something, it would be up to you to determine how much you want to cut back. But again, this was just a research into what could be done. As of right now, I told Weldon yesterday that it seems like some of the people that approached us are no longer interested in being involved in it. So what I told Weldon is I'm not interested in bringing anything to the board. So that's where we're at on that. Going back to the townwide reval, I did provide the selectmen with the proposed new state valuation, which isn't included in the packet, so that everybody here knows. In the last, what did I say, it started in 2007.
Yep.
So in the last roughly 15 years, the town of Buckfield state valuation has gone from 101 million to the now proposed 208 million for next year. Which is really what was driving the need for the reval in town to balance out the two valuations so that our mill rate's not where it's at. But that was just a little bit of information on the perspective there. And then I included all the department head reports for your review.
Right, and the reval wasn't really an optional thing.
No, this year, we're allowed to adjust up to 10. We are at 70%. State statute says we have to be at 70%. So looking at next year's numbers, the state could have pulled our reimbursements or withheld our reimbursements, and everybody's taxes would have gone up. If you take the homestead exemption that we had last year, because it's adjusted based off of our local valuation, which is 20,000, and do the math based off of the mill rate. I mean, that's a $564 increase in taxes because the town wouldn't have been in compliance. So state's understanding because they know we're doing reval. So I just want to get that out there.
Yep. And
Oh, yeah. I guess we can move down to, so donation approvals.
I was looking at the other reports in here,
You want to look at those?
yeah. These do become available online for folks, but
I haven't posted them yet. I will.
yeah,
I'll get one today.
I happen to peruse them here.
So Bear Pond Road, paving work is scheduled to begin here soon. The surface paving won't be done until the spring. Obviously, it's getting later in the year, but that work will start. There's some ditching that needs to be done down there before that project's done. Oh, yeah, that culvert, box culvert bridge, whatever you want to call it, that we just finished over there, that'll be paved once they do that project. They've been hauling sand. He sent me a text message at the end of the day. I believe they finished hauling all the winter sand. I didn't read over the library. I came this today.
Fresh coat paint looks amazing now.
Yes, that's just primer.
Everybody freaked out over this, including me.
Well, if you look at that picture right there, building used to be just wooden shakers, which was brown.
But it's been red for so long.
Yeah, so that's finished. Rescue, I don't know, you want to speak to rescue?
Stacy's actually on the line. The rescue chief. You want to speak to rescue, Stacy?
I can. The report that I gave is this last month we ran 35 calls for service, and I broke it down for you guys for the amount of calls that we ran during the day, which is 6A to 6P, and then the other calls 6P to 6A, and you'll see that the service that we're providing, the numbers anyways, are pretty much lining up no matter day or night. And then I broke it down even further to ALS and BLS calls, the towns that we responded to, and which days of the week is busiest. And for our service, Tuesday is actually our busier day of the week. The report also goes on to say that we hired on 3 new members, 1 advanced and 2 EMTs. 2 of them are just finishing up FTO, and the AEMT finishes up her FTO in the next week and a half. And so they're excited to come on board. We're excited to have them. And it just adds to our growing roster. Some upcoming things this month is fire prevention. We go to the elementary school on the 10th. And then some of us have volunteered to do the trunk or treat, which we'll be decorating 451 for that event. So yeah, that's what's going on in rescue.
Thank you. Any questions for Stacy? Running just over a call a day by the sounds of things.
Yeah, about yeah, just over a call a day, which is great, seeing the influx of calls and being able to provide the service for all those calls.
15 ALS calls. That's impressive. Yep. All right, then the fire department, I think I updated, well, you weren't here last meeting, but I updated, I asked Greenwood for a more firm date on when the truck would be done. They're saying the end of October. Fingers crossed. They did all the hose testing here last week. Everything is good except we lost 200 feet of 4-inch LVH due to pinholes. It's about $1,000 replacement cost, but I do believe that we were able to actually get a bunch recently. That was actually, no, that was an LVH, sorry. Overall, yeah, the month was actually relatively slow. I don't want to say anything, I don't jinx it, but slower than usual. And that's basically it for the department head report.
Thank you.
On to the donations.
Yes,
So we received 3 donations. They're sitting in the safe right now, waiting for your approval. You weren't here at last meeting, but after talking to legal, I'm bringing every donation we received to you for your approval before I deposit it. So we received a $100 donation for Buckfield Rescue, $100 donation for the transfer station, and then $250 for the fire.
no, I think it's great to see him on here, actually.
I thought it, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
See.
yeah,
And then your disbursement warrants, we only have the 2 payroll warrants, and then today's accounts payable, which includes the second payment of the reval. So we only have the 1 payment next year, and we're done with that.
great. So the total on the disbursement warrants is going to be $190,149.83. Any further discussion on that? So we'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Bob, aye.
Celia, I.
Heather, I. Sandra, I.
Thank you. Approval of the minutes from September 19, 2023 select board meeting. I was not here, so to abstain.
I will make a motion that we approve the minutes of the September 19th, 2023 select board meeting.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Reading through them, they're all correct. With the exception of I was present twice. So I don't know if you want to fix
You were
that.
having where? You were there for
Oh,
me
yeah.
too?
Right at the top.
Didn't even notice.
Mhm.
I think I used an old, okay. Any other changes?
It looks really good. Thank you.
I will amend my motion to approve the minutes of the September 19th, 2023 select board meeting with changes.
Second bullet.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Celia, I.
Heather, I. Sandra, I.
Thank you. 2021-2022 abatement for 11 Jim Warren Road.
So this is, so the assessor has the ability to approve an abatement up to a year if there's an error. But this one was, it basically in 2020, 2021, the property owner was inadvertently changed to a holding LLC.
Oh,
But there were multiple properties on a deed, and it was just an honest mistake that was made. And then when the assessor came in to review accounts, LLCs aren't eligible for homestead exemptions, so it was removed. So this abatement is for what they lost when they were entitled to their homestead exemption. It's been fixed. The amount was abated for this year, and a supplemental was issued to the proper owner, and everything's cleared up for this year, but this one has to be approved by the select board. And that was, I think I included it in your paperwork.
Yeah.
In the amount of $500.95.
So you're looking for us to approve this abate.
Correct.
I'll make a motion that we approve the abatement, the 2021, 2022 abatement for 11 Jim Warren Road. Lane.
No,
It
road.
says road.
The mailing address is Lane. That's what I was looking at.
Interesting. No, it's road.
it's broke.
Who's the assessor? I just brought you the paperwork.
I'll second that motion.
I'll get her to fix the certificate first.
Any further discussion on that one? All those in favor, Bob, I.
Azalea, I.
Heather, I.
Sandra, I.
Thank you.
Right on the agenda.
Bill of sale for tax acquired property at 10 Park Circle.
So this is another one of the 30-day letters that we've sent out, giving them another opportunity. The property taxes have been paid up current and all the fees and interest have been paid, so. Mobile homes are a little different. Whereas there's no deed to deed back, but it's recommended by MMA to do a bill of sale, so. I have that for you after the meeting too, if you approve it.
So what are we, we're just approving,
You're authorizing the signing of the bill of sale, but it's like,
okay,
So I'll make a motion that we approve the bill of sale for the. My listing item,
10 for the circle.
10, yeah, 10 Park Circle.
but we're not. The bill of sale is not for 10 Park Circle.
Bill of sale for the mobile home located at 10 Park
Okay.
Circle.
I make a motion that we approve the bill of sale for the mobile home located at 10 Park Circle.
I'll second that motion.
thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor, Bob, I.
Azalea, I.
Heather, I.
Sandra, I.
All right, special town meeting warrant review and approval.
So as I discussed at the last meeting, you're talking to MMA about the other warrant articles we're looking at. You just kept this pretty cut dry, simple. Oops, I only have one page. So obviously the first article's required. We have to elect a moderator before election day. Question 2 is to elect the selectmen for the vacant 3-year term beginning November 8th. And then Article 3, as discussed with the Drew Brook crossing, going over budget, it ate into the all road budget. So there's an article asking to appropriate $40,000 for unappropriated surplus, not through taxation, for summer roads so that they can continue to repair roads as issues come up. I think you have a copy of it. Yeah, so unless there's any typos.
Reading carefully.
Oops, yeah. Should say articles 2 through 3.
Oh, yeah.
I'll make a motion that we approve the town meeting warrant with corrections.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Yes, Vic?
I just have a quick question, which is, does this require a public hearing?
That's it.
Yeah, it's just.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Pick the date already.
no, but you have to have it. At least 7 days.
7, yeah.
It's, I mean, it's one question. I don't anticipate it's gonna be a huge amount of time, so you could add it to. I mean, I know you have something scheduled for what, October
17.
17th, or you could have something the following Tuesday. Good catch, man.
We roll that one into the 17th.
What's that? I'm sorry.
Can we roll this into the 17th?
I would think so. I mean,
We have the AvCog public hearing from 5 till
No later than
Beginning.
6:15, not to end before 6:15. And you could, oh yeah, that's right, your motion to say the same. Or the, I mean, you could put it right after that. busy night while it's going on, but. And you only have to answer questions for one of them. I don't anticipate anybody's gonna have any questions on our 1 and 2, let's see who's running.
So I'd like to. Make a motion that we. Schedule a public hearing. For warrant article number 3. To be held on. October 17th. At 6:30. So the second part of this motion is, we would then begin. The regularly scheduled select board meeting directly after that public hearing.
I'll second that motion.
Yes,
It would be a public hearing on the whole warrant. Even
Oh,
though
I'm
1 and 2,
sorry.
yeah, it'll just be a public hearing for.
So I'd like to amend my motion. To include the entire. Warrant. I will still say it.
all right, so. There was motion on the floor for the warrant itself,
I've seconded.
and you second that. That was in discussion. And we had the second one, so let's,
Oh, I apologize.
no, it's fine. Because then we can do one, then we'll just go, because,
Finish the first one.
yeah, we'll finish the first one and. All right, so all in favor of approving the warrant as amended?
So,
Aye.
Azalea, I.
Heather, I.
Sandra, I.
Right, and then all in favor of scheduling a public hearing on October 17th. Is that
6:30.
at 6:30?
Great.
That's because we're gonna do the,
I've called workshop,
yeah,
public hearing. Until at least 6:15.
oh, right, and then, okay, 6:30,
AvCog.
gotcha,
Looking.
we're good, all right. So all in favor of that? Bob, aye,
Azalea, I.
Heather, I.
Sandra, I.
thank you. Thank you, Viv. Other business? We did have some. Yes, Sandra.
We had talked at the last select board meeting about reaching out to fire and rescue. To get together to begin discussions, information gathering. About, I want to use the correct terminology. To item number 7.
Fire and Rescue Department. Grateful.
Item number 4, fire and rescue department integration.
Yeah.
I was thinking maybe somebody could reach out. See if we can coordinate for the 11th. At 7 o'clock.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that.
Okay,
I'll get in touch with both chiefs and. See if we can come over and meet with them on the 11th, which I believe is their regularly scheduled meeting time.
so. I think we need to make a motion. To. Try to schedule, because we won't meet again before. The 11th, correct?
All right, yeah, so we'll have to have that as a
So
schedule.
I'll make a motion that we try to schedule. A workshop with fire and rescue personnel. For October 11th at 7 PM at the rescue fire station.
I'll second that. Discussion, yes?
You say you wanna ask Stacy right now, I only say that because it would have to be posted by.
Is that okay with you, Chief Blackgear?
It is, yeah, that's our monthly meeting night for rescue. So myself and a few other members will already be there. I can't speak for Adam in the fire department, but I'm there tomorrow, so I can reach out to Adam and just let him know.
Fantastic, yeah, we don't want to cut in on your, I know you have training and a meeting that night, but. Be great
Yeah.
to. Okay,
And when I asked Adam, he said, most of my guys are available after 7, so. That's the answer I got. So hopefully,
All right. Thank you, chief. Any further discussion on that? All in favor, Bob, aye.
Celia, I.
Heather, I.
Sandra, I.
All right, any other business? No. Okay. Public comment period. Set aside 15 minutes or so at the end of our meetings to chat with the public if there's any comments. Does anyone have anything for us? I'm guessing, yeah.
And I was very concerned with some of the things I was hearing. As it was going to clear cut, 33 feet from the center of Railroad Bed Road into the properties along Railroad Bed Road. My concern is, I listened to you tonight and it's just in the looking for that and just kind of feeling things out. I just would like to make sure that the landowners are notified when you guys are gonna do anything. I think the landowners need, Railroad Bed Road now is not just owned by the logging companies. There are many families, many people that are building there. There's a lot of people, and I think it deserves, the people that live there deserve to know. I personally and my family personally have had a lot of bad things happen to us since we purchased the property. We're going on our fourth year. This is not the forum to go into it, but if anybody, I am openly willing to let anybody know some of the things that have happened to us. So I truly would like to know if the abutters will know and what is going to be done, and if it's going to be on a fair and equitable, like not picking and choosing the land that you want and leaving others out. So if it's going to be done, I would like it, so that's why I would like input and have the people from Railroad Bed Road available for discussion before anything is voted on. And that's basically what I don't know if anybody wants to say anything else.
Yes, Sandra.
I did have a question after speaking with several citizens. What would need to be done? Would it be possible for people, volunteers, to trim tree growth, branch growth that's coming over the road?
yeah, people are more than willing. If people want to volunteer to do that sort of work, obviously, I would assume that all of you would be open to that. We were approached for the problem. We were investigating a solution and it just seemed to have gotten blown out of proportion. I don't want to say it's blown out of proportion. Your concerns are very valid. But what was coming out of that was not even remotely close to the discussions that Weldon and I had had. With that said, I go back to the town does own 66 feet. And this isn't like an easement. It's the town's property. In some places it's 65, but for the most part, if you look at 4 rods, it's 66 feet roughly. I never measured in rods in school, but so when we purchased those 2 parcels, we were purchasing the land, and when we were discussing trying to find a solution, we weren't looking to impede on anybody else's property. Just cut what's on ours. And then I was going to bring all that information to you and see what you, the board, wanted to do. But I wasn't even allowed that opportunity because apparently half the town already thought something was going on that hadn't even been brought to you for your decision. So I think most of you probably heard about it for the first time yesterday.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about it. Yeah.
I do have some hesitation, though, of just putting it out there, go cut whatever you want on the side of the
Well,
railroad bed road. So I'm
it needs to be worked.
thinking, should we look into how to do this and talk about it at our next meeting? Not what we, the town, are going to do, but if people who use that throughway recreationally or to get from one place to another, want to trim some of the branches, how can we go about giving people permission to do that?
That's a discussion that you're gonna have to have. So
Yeah, we
was
would-
answer for you today.
Yeah, I've got, because it's actually a recreational trail, right? That's what we deemed it at some point.
If you actually look at the town report for 2002, when the railroad bed was purchased, it was purchased as a recreational trail and it's in parentheses.
Yeah,
Um,
so we should probably also contact the Snowmobile Club, chat with them a bit,
ATV club.
ATV Club, yeah. Because I mean, that's on the interconnected trails there.
And if you look, and a lot of people talk about easements, but if you look at where the snowmobile trail runs next to the railroad bed where people plow it. The reason we were able to do that is because we actually own that property.
Beside, yeah,
It's not an easement.
right.
And if, I mean, anybody can look at the tax maps too. I mean, they're not perfect science, but if you look at the frontage, you look at the width, I mean, it's. I've got 6 or 7 of the deeds dating back to 1894. I didn't go any further back than that because they were getting really hard to read. But I mean, if you were gonna do, it's not. Again, I hadn't even touched the research. It was just trying to figure out what we could do because I have 3 public works employees. We have way too many projects to send them down railroad bed and have them trim trees. It would take them years. And then, I mean, every summer they'd be back to doing it again. We just do not have the manpower, nor do we have the budget. We haven't put any money into railroad bed specifically. And probably since the last time you voted for it in open town, or no, the last time you were on the budget committee and you added it. So, I mean, there's no budget to do that. And if we pull them down to go trim trees and use pole saws, I mean, your ditches aren't getting done, culverts aren't getting replaced, your roads aren't getting. We just don't have the resources. So. Volunteers, I mean, any way it can be done, I mean, that's something that the board needs to consider.
Yes, Viv?
I was gonna say, if you're gonna contact, the ATV club or the snowmobile club, then I think, Western Foothills should also be contacted. And I share the same concern because you're previously. Trying to say that differently, I'm worried that if it's not, if a volunteer group goes down the railroad bed or up the railroad bed, either which way, that there's a liability to the town. I've been told throughout the years when I have offered to volunteer that I couldn't. Because of that liability with the insurance company, so I think before any decisions made, that should be.
Right, because it's on our,
Completely looked at.
it's on our property, right? So
Mhm.
anything that takes place there could
Fall back on.
create a liability for us. Right,
Yeah, especially if it's volunteer.
right.
And PS, quick PS would be, another reason why the number 4 municipal property use ordinance may be important.
Mhm.
Perhaps we should set a date where we can invite any and all people who would like to put input into where this discussion should go, what should happen, if anything should happen at all. Set a
Yeah.
date to do that and then people can plan for it.
I think that's a great idea, yeah, because we're gonna need to look at this quite a bit, I think, and Kim is, I mean,
Well, since you've already gone down the topic too, and I bet Judy and Viv can remember when this was discussed in the past.
it's,
Another property we own, right, Bessie Field, if you've been by there lately. There was discussion about cutting some or selectively cutting some of that.
Yeah.
It's to the point now where it's dangerous. I mean, we've got kids over there that are going to play sports, soccer primarily right now until we resurface the field, but you know, their siblings are out running in the woods. I mean, we've got certain immunities, but I mean, it's something that the town needs to really look at, and not just railroad bed, but like in that situation, I mean, you've got full-size pine trees that are, you know,
Yeah.
this big around, with limbs that are this big around that could just fall on somebody's head. And so it's something that needs to be addressed. This just happened to be the topic of tonight, but there's other things that to be. Look at.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
On the subject of addresses matter, I'm assuming Bessie Fields where the soccer field, the Butts Railroad, that road,
No, this is up on Ferris Hill.
don't know where that is.
Um,
But where the school of Butts Railroad, that road. Shouldn't there be some slow down method when kids are out there? Instead of free car launch of 60 miles an hour?
and then we go back to. The railroad bed is a recreational trail, and I mean, that really is, I would almost say that that's. I guess it's a joint town and RSU issue. It's something that should be brought up to the RSU. Because you don't own that property.
But yeah, I hear where you're coming from. Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, a lot, people do move down that road or the recreational trail. Yeah, for sure. Yes. Nope. Char, yeah.
So Heather and I talked the other day, there's a town committee for beautification and conservation. And so it sounds like maybe some of these projects could be within the wheelhouse if anyone else was interested in having their hands in something like that. And select board decided that would be a good fit, whether it's like some selective cutting or trimming or just other, you know, projects. It could be a good venue for people to get involved with.
That's an excellent point. Actually, since we have all these folks here, we're always looking for help. Yes.
I just want to reiterate, my fear is if this line cutting or that it's, if you're gonna do it for one, do it for all.
Mhm.
And I don't think it should be selectively like, oh, this is gonna benefit somebody over here, so I'm going to clear cut this people's property, but I'm gonna leave these people alone. That, I think,
Yeah.
that really bothers me, and, so.
Yes, Sandra?
So I think that whatever is decided upon, if anything is decided upon, that it would be consistent from South Pond all the way to Hartford.
And would be confined to the town's property, not a butter's property.
Right. I use the
Right.
term selective cutting at Bessie Field because that was the term that was used 10 years ago to selectively cut those trees on our property. Because some were dying, some weren't. You get pine trees that then they get weak. That was for that, not the railroad bed.
But whatever is decided, if anything is decided for the railroad bed road, would be for the,
When we were researching the options on what we were gonna do on our property going down railroad bed. That I would have presented to you had I it gotten to that point, it was consistently from. High Street to each one of the town lines or Depot Street. To the town line, all the way down, because. Well, you were there, I mean, in the past. I don't think it was done on the magnitude that we were researching, but it has been done before by a logger, and the reason it was done by a logger. Insurance,
Yeah.
and they use foresters to mark the boundaries. So, again, this was. Part of the research process, but as far as the selective statement, that was up at Bessie Field, I don't know if you've ever been up there. It's basically a big pine grove, so we have a lot of dead trees that are. They're widow makers, essentially, and so they wanted to go in and selectively cut it to make that healthier trees grow. The railroad bed was a little bit different, because they were just trying to push everything back.
Yes, Viv?
And doesn't the town usually send out letters to any abutters when work is done anyway? Or maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know, I mean,
It works, it's open.
yeah, it makes sense, but I wouldn't answer 100% because I'm not sure if we did or not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I thought we had.
it makes sense, I mean, I think we should, but, you know,
I mean, it's not a policy or anything. I think it's just a
it's the right thing to do,
I mean,
yeah.
it's not, it's like if Weldon's going through the easement, I mean, going through the right of way, when he goes like down East Buckfield and cutting. I mean, we don't send out letters to every one of the people who own property on the side of the road to let them know that we're gonna be clearing brush.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm just using that as an example.
Yeah, that's an example. I'm just saying,
Right,
maybe this doesn't qualify for that bigger.
yeah. Where it was disruptive at my house when the thing washed out, he did call me, so,
Right.
yeah.
Well, I mean, if he's gonna tear up your culvert because it needs to be replaced, and he does reach out to people, let them know like, hey, you're not gonna be able to get out of your driveway for an hour.
Yeah.
I think what's important for people to hear is that no decision will be made quickly or behind closed doors. Any decision will be made with public input because it's about what the community as an entire group would want. And things will be planned out and posted and be made clear.
I think what everybody's really just more concerned, we wanna be involved.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And
We go get those applications.
yeah, we want you involved.
And I mean, I want to reiterate with the board too, anytime. I don't try to make. Even if they're decisions that I can make, I don't like making them by myself. I like bringing them to you so that we, or you as a board can have an input on it. And if it is something. Listen, I'm all about transparency and I'm all about you making the decision, not me.
Yeah, just to say this, for the people that live there, it really is an important issue. And, we kind of really, would like to be informed and kept up to, because it really does mean a lot to all of us. If you can see that, there's a lot of us here and it really is very important, so.
Yeah, and many of us enjoy Riverbed Road too, just walking down.
It's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, and we don't want to see. We like it looking nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so to me, yeah.
Yeah.
It's that clear cutting that, just like that said,
Yeah.
yeah.
Anybody else?
Mm-hmm. All right, so I guess. I like your idea of trying to come up with, but I don't know if we can do that, because we've got budgeting coming up. Right?
Budgeting.
We have an election in November.
Mhm. So oh yeah, by the way, both your meetings for you have been moved a week out in November because of the election.
Okay, yeah.
Um,
While we're on that topic.
Mhm.
I said I was available on the 28th, but I forgot to have my whatever that training is that they registered me for back in
oh yeah,
June. So should we change that or should I just not be here?
can the other three make it on the 28th?
Yes.
Mhm.
And then you should have a new selectman on the 7th too, so there should still be able to have a quorum.
Okay.
I mean, unless you want to move it.
I think your input is really, really important, but I don't know where else we'd move it to.
Yeah, I think it's fine. This is
Right, because the following week is the next scheduled board meeting. Believe.
Yeah, so. You moved it to the 28th and then we have a meeting again on the 5th. And I don't anticipate you moving meetings in December because the following week could be the day after Christmas and that's probably a busy week for everybody.
Because this is so important to so many people. Not that I think we need to make decisions in November. I wouldn't want to put off discussion or hearing what people had to say.
Yeah.
Past there, so. Maybe one of the meetings in November. We can put it on the agenda and publicly post that it's on the agenda, so people know.
And then we're getting into, December, I'm gonna meet with department heads to discuss budgets, to be ready for the budget committee in February. Some of that planning may cost money, so it'd be good to do that before that process.
Yeah.
So do we have to decide now, or can we wait and just put it on an agenda?
You have another meeting on the 17th,
Okay.
so. Yeah. You're not gonna have a select board meeting for 3 weeks. I'm just thinking about those. We'll figure it out.
But when could we do it? Or at least get started.
I mean, you're.
One of our 2 select board meetings in November.
November?
The 14th, which Heather's doing the elected officers or the municipal officer training on the 20th, so she won't be able to be here. But the 14th is that first meeting.
And we don't have anything. No other meetings for that, like.
Workshops.
No,
We were talking about inviting the superintendent of RSU.
Oh.
10.
Oh.
Stop it, she got a date.
I knew there was some.
Thank you for bringing that up. November 28th. That's the date that the superintendent gave me. And I did send that same email to both Aaron and Allison.
Mhm.
I haven't heard back from you. I mean, Aaron, I could probably figure out, but I'm sure
So?
she's gonna be here. And I would imagine. I just haven't got it back.
Do you want to shoot for the 14th for follow-up discussion on this?
I might join it late on Zoom.
Fantastic.
I think it's over at like 7, like, so I might be able to catch some of this.
So should we then plan on reaching out to the Snowmobile ATV Club Western Foothills Land Trust for the 14th meeting or?
And the
Yeah.
school,
And the school?
Well, you might want to speak to Western Maine, right? Or Western Foothills. I never get it right. What is
Western
Western Foothills? Thank you. Yeah, I can. Take frames, this stuff up. And I can talk to Mark Fox. November 14th.
Yes, November 14th, yeah.
Perhaps that's something we can put earlier on the schedule,
Yeah,
so folks can come and.
we want to do the 5:30 meeting that night, or do you want to just do it with the agenda? Okay, so regular meeting, it will be included on the agenda for discussion with everybody. Yeah,
Put
everybody's
it
on.
under old business and then it can be at the beginning of the meeting.
Yeah, yeah, we can do that. Yes, ma'am?
the other group might be, I think it's called Pine Tree Trail Riders. What did it say?
The dog cooker.
You calling that the eighth,
Mhm.
even though they're on motorcycles? Okay. Okay.
I know, I've heard all about it.
Maybe we should, but we need to chat with Welton and have him at least do. It's gonna be tough for him and his crew to get to something like that, but. I mean, it's
I
just
mean, if
not-
you want my sincerest honesty. Our public works crew will not do this project.
Yeah, all right,
There's just no way.
now,
I mean, you wanna send them out to take down a couple of branches, that's one thing. You want them to go
but
spend.
he knows everybody.
Already knows everybody. Yeah. No, I mean, I'm sure he'd still be willing to sit in the meeting and, explain what options we were looking at or what could be the potential, but.
That might be helpful, yeah.
I definitely will adamantly tell you, Public Works will not do that.
Yeah.
If we had a grounds department that, mowed lawns and, okay, maybe that's a good project for them, but.
Mostly I'm looking for his input, because
Right. I think his input's still valuable.
he knows so much about this stuff, it's. Yes, ma'am?
Okay, so I knew nothing about the railroad. Especially before I came here tonight. But one thing I would say. Is that we have a list of 14 things. And I've been waiting for some of these. So somehow, I'm not saying that what's happening on the railroad bed may not be important. But is it a policy, I'm kind of being devil's advocate here. Does only the squeaky wheel get the grease enough to throw the select board off schedule and focus on prioritizing these, like main municipal property, uses ordinance, comprehensive plan, capital improvement, emergency plan, we're coming into winter.
Yeah.
Is this something that is that important?
Well, I think it is important for a lot of folks, but a lot of those things on that list are actually being worked on as well in other forums. Like the comprehensive plan, right? The
Municipal building and use,
yeah, that one we need to work
capital
on.
improvement plan, the budget's coming up, you're gonna make a budget.
Yeah, no.
I'm sorry.
Comprehensive plan is currently with the planning board.
Yeah.
So that's being worked on.
No, I'm
The
not, I'm just saying,
library trust, I think you covered that pretty well at the last meeting. The school budget exploration, I think we've already improved. Communications with the RSU. I personally, and I didn't put this in my town manager report. I went to Buckfield High School the other day and the assistant superintendent and the principal walked me around the school to show me a lot of the stuff that they've done in the building that we don't see on the outside of the building. And the RSU has acknowledged that they need to focus more on the exteriors of the building now to take care of things that have been overlooked for years. So, I mean, I think communication with the school is getting much better. The solid waste facility changes. I'm going to Sumner's select board meeting on Tuesday to hopefully
hell,
sit in front of them and say, we need a meeting. And hopefully when we come out of that, we'll have that. I mean, I talk to the chair of the Sumner Select Board now. That they have new selectmen in there. I communicate with them pretty regularly.
yeah, the point is that I didn't say that happened. I'm trying to understand how the board is prioritizing. And not saying,
Well, I mean, this problem's just recently been brought to us. Would you have us push it off until after we finished everything on this list?
no, I'm not suggesting that either. What I'm suggesting is perhaps instead of the board. Like Western Foothills, maybe one member of the board can contact them. And say, hey, this is what's going on, is there any way you can help before? I don't know, I'm just saying, it just seems like there's an awful lot going on, and I was wondering how the board sets its priorities, not because I think their property is any less valuable than mine. But it just seems big and time consuming, and I'm looking at the other stuff. I don't know how to go with it. So,
We're ambitious.
We're ambitious. And Bob, I mean, I'm really gonna take this one for you because. There's two sides to the town governance. There's the stuff that the select board has to deal with, and then there's the stuff that happens on the day-to-day that happens. The influx of people that come in and have concerns about things that I then have to figure out what we can do, which is what stemmed this whole thing. And I think that you talking about it and discussing it and at least putting it on your radar makes sense, because obviously there's a bunch of concerned people here that want input. And had you just blown this off and, I included the tidbit in the town manager to reassure people that nothing was a done deal. Like, I think it's important that the board still acknowledge stuff that is a hot topic at the moment. If I can't squash it in the office. Because
Right, and
our lives, had you not addressed this. It just makes the day-to-day operations way more difficult because we're fighting fires and trying to just do the daily stuff. So
Right.
I appreciate it. I appreciate that you're talking about it. And this railroad bed trimming thing has been an ongoing issue since I started. People have been inquiring about it, and that's why I'm doing the research for them.
well, and there's,
Rumors is what created this, and they're acknowledging it and explaining it. So I think that's important.
And I hope that what I said didn't imply that it wasn't important. Because again, I think a little bit of research will show that year after year after year in the budget process, there was money even allotted for maintenance on the railroad. Judy will attest to it, I will attest to it. How that disappeared, I don't know. You know, so that we can maybe contract that, or maybe it's volunteers, so on and so forth. But I hope you all don't leave without filling out an application.
yeah, absolutely. Is there any other public comment? So we're gonna,
Application for what?
committees,
Beautification.
This is the committee right here. The two of us can cut all the trees down a little bit.
oh, do we have an item to add to the agenda?
You're still in our business, right?
Okay. Are we all set with public comment for now? Thank you, everyone. I hope
Thank you.
we quelled your fears some, yeah, all right. So I have an application before me for Connor Trimley. Or. So you're the beautification committee, is that right?
Yes.
How long?
Here.
20 years?
Three. You meant three.
You were great.
You meant three.
He's only willing to commit to one. All right. So I'll make a motion that we appoint Connor Tremblay to the Beautification and Parks Conservation Committee for a 1-year term. Effective, do I have to give the effective date?
No, it'll be a 1-year term.
For a 1-year term.
Sure.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Any discussion? This is your chance.
What's hiding it?
Yeah. All right, all in favor, Bob, aye?
Azalea, I.
There I.
Sandra, I.
Thank you, Connor. Appreciate it.
Is there another one?
What?
Oh, she didn't want to be talked about while she was here.
There's another,
Another application?
yes.
All right.
Yeah, you just filled it into your page.
These committees are great, really. You get to meet some of the, other folks in town, see what's going on.
And I wonder why there's no, people, no one's, volunteering for the old church on the Hill Committee, because that could use some work. I mean, there's painting to be done and gravel and, I mean, there's a lot of work to be done, but there's some maintenance to be done. And it would be nice if we have some committee work.
Yeah. No,
Maybe the beautification committee can beautify the church
you can
too.
expand.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Teamwork makes a
I
great
can
work.
sign back up for that.
Expand the charter.
I can sign back up for that again and then I can note it.
Has anyone been up to the old church? It's really beautiful. If you get the chance. When are they open, Judy?
I don't know.
We are.
I don't know when they're open. I'm not on it. I just went to that one meeting last year. Nothing happened.
Of
And
course, you know,
it turned out.
they don't do anything with
It
it.
turned out that it was not going to be this humongous amount of money to spend on it. But we never really applied for the grant,
Yeah,
or we were sort of wishy-washy about it, and we don't have the committee coming together. There are some things that could be done just for maintenance.
yeah.
And which could be done.
Well, if you catch Corey in town, I bet you he can get you in there, folks.
Who's that?
Corey,
Oh, is Corey there?
yeah.
Oh, maybe he'll,
No.
call me.
Oh, call me. I'll pick you up.
I called him once, he didn't call me back.
Oh,
No, no. No, you don't only need three people on the committee. I mean, three people is enough. One of the committee members told me you needed seven, and that's not necessarily true.
No, it's a quorum is the majority of the appointed members.
Exactly, and I don't think they appreciated that.
So,
They don't
I
understand.
do know that Richard Irons applied to be on the committee.
yeah, they appointed him last meeting.
But who's in charge of getting the committee together? That's what's.
Whoever takes the lead and calls the meeting, because there's no chair right now.
There you go.
They don't review what is it past. Somebody.
Forget two right now. Who was the other one?
Everett.
Did he ever drop off his application? Because his had expired. I'll double check the notes. I may have forgot to add it to it. But yeah, no, they can have a meeting. One of them's just gonna. Corey, call a meeting.
There you go.
is there any other business? No. Thank you, everybody. I'll move to adjourn. All in favor, bye-bye.
Delia, aye.
Heather, I.
Sandra, aye. Thanks, everyone.
7:35.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.